here at Ground Zero, right across from the abominable St. Nicholas Church, is a tree sampling from the very tree that Anne Frank looked at when she wrote in her famous diaries. Now, if you've been following what's been going on here at Ground Zero and in the times that we're living in, we know Anne Frank's tree is here for a reason, because it's connected to Messiah and to the second coming of Christ. Now, I invite you to screenshot this and read this on your own. But if you've been following what's going on, I'll try to leave the video linked below. The satanic agenda to try to exterminate the seed of the second coming of Christ is thus exposed. The Statue of Liberty. We got this covered. We hail Satan. Now, I don't think Satan had all the answers, because clearly we could see that the Mother Cabrini, her life, this happened before the Holocaust. She lived from 1850 to 1917. The Museum for the Jewish Heritage of the Holocaust is right here before me. So I don't believe Satan had all the answers, but we can discern is that Satan had knowledge that Messiah would come from an Italian Jewish descent in some way or another. So I just want to close that we see the genocidal evidence all around, okay? This memorial is a grave, okay? This memorial is a grave. I have the Freedom Tower right here. We already know what happened on 9/11. And I just want to say that my spirit is just so quaking and so upset. It is just, my spirit is so upset, because clearly we could see how ignorant Satan is, clumsy in his attempts, clumsy in his ways, never getting it right. And yet, the carnage is just unbearable. And I just, I have to say, I just think, the wrath of God is going to fall on this and recompense this. This is a grave. Clearly, let's kill these immigrants. Let's kill these children. That's what that is. We know that the Holocaust was linked to trying to wipe out the seed of Messiah. I'll link that video below. And what I'm going to do is share a testimony. The spirit of the resurrected Anne Frank visited me in the wee hours of the morning last night, very strongly, and told me this revelation. Now, Anne Frank happens to be a direct relative of one of the biggest Judases in Messiah's life. And what I want to share with you, I just want to share what I believe the Lord has been showing me, the truth about Anne Frank, the truth about her diary, the truth about the Holocaust. And it's very difficult, because as I've been learning this today, my spirit just overwhelms, and it's really hard not to break down. When we realize the truth about Anne Frank, her end was not well, but the Lord was with her, and she really wasn't there. The Lord took her to heaven while what happened to her happened to her. And, God's works are an eternal circle, and I just want to try to share that with you. Now, during the course of Anne Frank's life, she knew the Holocaust was to wipe out the seed for the second coming of Christ.
I believe the Lord did communicate with her. She knew her writings were going to be famous, and she knew her story was going to help bring down Satan in the last days. And, this little 12-year-old girl knew about Messiah. The Lord revealed to her that he was very much like her, and that their souls were even connected, perhaps, for the Father's kingdom. And she admired him a lot. Now, just looking at Anne Frank's wiki page, we could put the pieces together, at least from what the Lord told me, you could put the pieces together really quick. Of course, the diary of Anne Frank mentions nothing about the second coming of Christ or anything like that, because the manuscripts were edited. We learned that when her manuscripts were found, they were inherited by her father. And when you just take a look at the photo of her father, very institutionalized, accepted by the world. So if we know the truth that the Bible says, Anne was also known not to write kindly about her father. He might have sold her out. There might have been that kind of Judas scenario in her life too. But so I believe he was responsible, probably, and oversaw the editing of her diary of the truth of the Holocaust, the truth about her real story. Now, I want to talk about the Holocaust a little, what the Lord has been showing me about the Holocaust, because in my personal time with the Lord, I always cried out to him. I think one of the most popular questions he gets is, where were you during the Holocaust? Where were you during 9/11? And the Lord had told me he was there. The world just whitewashed that and censored that out of our historical record. The Lord did supernaturally reveal himself at Auschwitz, did supernaturally reveal himself in the concentration camps, told them why this was happening, to exterminate the seed of second coming of Christ. The American narrative at least tells us that, the prisoners didn't fight back, they just bowed down to the slaughter and didn't do anything, but nothing could be farther from the truth. I know the Lord spoke of over Germany, that physically spoke over Germany, you will never rise again. That came to pass. The Lord, pretty much told me that he told the prisoners, you have a right. You have a right. And those are the words the Lord gave me. And let me tell you, the prisoners fought with the power of God. They did. And it did put trembling in the hearts of the SS. It did. When you see these people rise up and do things that people aren't strong enough to do, they did put fear in the hearts of the SS. They did fight back. So these are the little truths about the Holocaust the Lord has been revealing to me. What Anne Frank revealed to me last night, all these people that are slaughtered are resurrected and glorified, and they're willing to fight. Now, I want to talk about the Holocaust a little, what the Lord has been showing me about the Holocaust, because in my personal time with the Lord, I always cried out to him. I think one of the most popular questions he gets is, where were you during the Holocaust? Where were you during 9/11? And the Lord had told me he was there. The world just whitewashed that and censored that out of our historical record. The Lord did supernaturally reveal himself at Auschwitz, did supernaturally reveal himself in the concentration camps, told them why this was happening, to exterminate the seed of second coming of Christ. The American narrative at least tells us that, the prisoners didn't fight back, they just bowed down to the slaughter and didn't do anything, but nothing could be farther from the truth. I know the Lord spoke of over Germany, that like physically spoke over Germany, you will never rise again. That came to pass. The Lord, pretty much told me that he told the prisoners, you have a right. You have a right. And those are the words the Lord gave me. And let me tell you, the prisoners fought with the power of God. They did. And it did put trembling in the hearts of the SS. It did. When you see these people rise up and do things that people aren't strong enough to do, they did put fear in the hearts of the SS. They did fight back. So these are the little truths about the Holocaust the Lord has been revealing to me. What Anne Frank revealed to me last night, all these people that are slaughtered are resurrected and glorified, and they're willing to fight. Jesus even said in our Bibles, if his kingdom was of this earth, his servants will fight. All these victims are ready to fight. And they are highly more sovereign and spiritually and supernaturally sovereign than your average person. This is what Anne Frank told me. We're pretty much the saints of God. It's pretty much like a concentration camp. They're ready to fight. So I just wanted to share that. And one of the things the Lord has shown me, the reason why he allowed the Holocaust is that people know that such a thing is just so sick and ridiculous. Pure seed lines which don't even exist and all that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. The Judas in Messiah's life had that Nazi pride seed line mentality, yet he had Jewish blood in him. Hitler had Jewish blood in him. Hitler, who wanted to rise to the top. I think God even told him, you're going to be known as the worst man, to go to hell. All that kind of stuff. So the Lord had to allow the Holocaust so people know how sick it is, especially for the last days. So they can't, because they would do this to us right now. So that's really all I have for you in this video. It's interesting how Anne Frank, being 12 years old, admiring Messiah, just like Messiah, when he was 12 years old, admired Kurt Cobain. God's works are in an eternal round. So it is no wonder, it's really beautiful to think how this very tree that you see right here is a sample from the tree that Anne Frank would stare at her window while she was wrote about Messiah. And one of the few righteous things here that you can find in Ground Zero is the tree of Anne Frank. It's there purposely. It's really beautiful if you could grasp it. And I am going to try to leave a link in the description box below. There is a text I'm going to recommend people read if they wish about tree sampling. The cross that Christ and the two robbers were crucified on, those trees, they had a past all throughout our biblical history and were sampled all throughout our biblical history. Thus, just like this tree was sampled from Germany, from Anne Frank's window. So I'm going to leave that text in the description box below. Okay, guys. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you. I just want to close is that the things that even I'm perceiving, I'm even resisting, because we're supposed to be patient and long-suffering in the Spirit, because we know in the end God has the victory. But when you have, okay, those who, if you're in the Antichrist agenda, you're supporting the Holocaust, you're supporting 9/11, you're supporting all this stuff. Nobody's going to stand for it. I can't even grasp within myself how much the Spirit is just, when there's when the cup of iniquity is overflowed, the hearts of those who mourn have to be comforted. And I just think this is what's coming for the righteous king that's going to rise up, and his wrath that's going to rise up. If God allowed all that, if God has allowed the cup of iniquity that has been brought forth for the last days, then he's going to allow a cup of vengeance that people can't handle. And we have a right to that comfort.